Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're unraveling a topic that really separates the true professionals from the rest of the pack, and that is mastering ECU pinning and bench mode programming. We're going to find out exactly how to interact with these incredibly complex engine control units, extract their data, and tune them safely without risking some seriously catastrophic hardware damage. Let's get started. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap. We're going to kick things off with the actual price of a mistake, break down the different ECU protocols, and walk through a safe step-by-step connection. Then we'll face the checksum gatekeeper, choose our software weapon, and wrap up with the top 10 workshop errors you absolutely must avoid. We've got a lot of ground to cover. Section 1. The price of a mistake, a real workshop case study. Let's start with a high-stakes reality check. It's super easy to get overly confident, but in the world of automotive electronics, confidence without a strict process is, well, it's incredibly expensive. To put that into perspective, take a look at this number: 25,000 rupees. That is the exact financial loss from one Indian workshop on a single repair job. It completely went down the drain, representing the severe, real-world cost of skipping basic diagnostics. And honestly, that doesn't even factor in the massive hit to the shop's reputation. So what actually happened here? Well, the technician replaced a highly expensive engine control unit without checking the absolute basics, things like power and grounds. The actual issue, it was literally just a simple blown fuse. It's a classic, heartbreaking mistake that wasted money and completely ruined customer trust. You just can't jump to the most expensive conclusion without following a proper diagnostic process first. Moving on to Section 2, Protocols, CAN, K-line, and GPT. The languages of ECU communication. To prevent those costly errors we just talked about, we first have to understand the technical languages our tools use to actually speak with the ECU on the bench. You'll notice a massive shift here from the older sequential K-line protocol, which you'd see in older units like the Bosch EDC 15 or 16, to the modern CAN bus. CAN operates at a super rapid standard of 500 kilobits per second for high-speed memory transfer. Knowing which protocol you're dealing with dictates exactly which pins you need to target when you're on the bench. But modern ECUs add a whole other layer of security. If we focus specifically on the Bosch ME 17.9, you can see how the tri-core GPT protocol uses incredibly precise 10 kHz and 8 kHz frequencies. It uses these to interact with the microprocessor's timer logic and extract the internal security password. The programming tool applies these exact square wave frequencies to specific pins during startup, basically tricking the ECU into opening a communication doorway. I absolutely love this analogy because it hits the nail right on the head. Boot mode is like breaking through a window because you lost the keys. But bench mode with GPT, that's knowing the secret knock to get the bouncer to open the front door. You get full, safe access without breaking the factory weather seal or accidentally scratching up the motherboard. You're just using the factory pins to deliver that secret knock. All right, Section 3, Safe Connections Step by Step. Procedural bench mode mastery. Let's see how all this theory builds into a practical tutorial. This is where precision is literally everything. Listen carefully. Before you even think about touching any pins, you must ground your workstation. Proper grounding cords and anti-static mats are absolutely crucial to protect those sensitive microcontrollers. A static shock that you can't even feel can pack up to 15,000 volts. If that hits an exposed ECU pin, yeah, it's game over for that microcontroller. Now, following this exact sequence is your non-negotiable recipe for a safe intervention. You start with precise ECU identification. Never guess a pinout. Then move through power and communication lines, providing a stable, clean 12 to 14 volts. Be incredibly careful not to short adjacent pins because they're often less than a millimeter apart. And finally, step 5. Execute a full backup of both the flash and EEPROM memories. If anything goes sideways later, that backup file is your only lifeline. Section 4. The Gatekeeper. Checksum. Verifying digital integrity. So, you've backed up the data, but now we face the ECU's ultimate security guard. The crucial thing to understand here is that the ECU is constantly watching. If you alter even one single byte of a map without your tool correcting this digital signature, the vehicle will absolutely refuse to run. Think of a checksum exactly like a wax seal on a top secret letter. The ECU calculates the total value of its data. If you change a fuel or boost parameter, that total changes. If you don't update the checksum to match that new total, the ECU assumes the file is corrupted, goes into full lockdown, and the engine simply won't crank. Which brings us to Section 5, ECM Titanium versus Winnows. Choosing your software weapon. Getting the file off the bench safely is really only half the battle. Knowing how to manipulate it is the other.
Now, Winnows offers incredible raw power for advanced tuners, but you're staring at raw hexadecimal data and you've got to find and define the maps yourself, which is a really steep learning curve. ECM Titanium, on the other hand, leverages predefined drivers and automatic checksums. It provides a much faster, guided workflow for busy shops. It finds those maps for you and handles that critical checksum correction in the background so you don't accidentally brick the ECU.
All right, Section 6, Top 10 Workshop Errors, the ultimate prevention checklist. Let's tie all this technical theory together and look at the definitive traps that catch even the most experienced technicians. You might actually want to print this list out for your shop because systematically eliminating these 10 errors will dramatically increase your success rate and profitability. Never replace an ECU without a proper diagnosis or skip over basic power and ground checks. Avoid weak soldering or overheating the PCB and never use the wrong component specs. Always track down the root cause of vehicle wiring shorts instead of just slapping on a temporary fix. And of course, don't skip post-repair testing. Don't ignore static protection, and please don't rely on cheap, unreliable tools. Remember, always diagnose the wiring on the car before blaming the ECU. I'll leave you with this provocative thought. Is your workshop operating blind on guesswork, or are you following a foolproof process? Master the protocols, respect the hardware, implement a strict step-by-step process, and elevate your tuning game today. Remember, an ECU isn't just a metal box. It's a highly sensitive microcomputer. Treat it with the respect it deserves, and you'll turn complex, risky repairs into highly profitable, routine jobs. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.